Use the stretch.
So Deer's had quite a year health-wise, hasn't she?
Alora.
Allura.
Adira. Now
Sorry.
also.
So they're
They're both.
both. Okay. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Trustee Cheney?
Here.
Trustee Foster?
Here.
Mayor Newhart?
Here.
Trustee Calora?
Here.
And Trustee McKnight is absent.
Okay. Do you need a minute, Barry?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Okay. So as part of tonight's introduction, I'm actually going to read a press release. It hasn't hit the presses yet, but so this is the first moment. So the Village of Warwick has purchased 75 Main Street and with hopeful desire to house the Chamber of Commerce and future visitor center. The Village of Warwick recently closed on a building located at 75 Main Street. The 2,087 square foot property was the former Eagle Antique Shop, and prior owner was the Strong Basile Funeral Home. The property is located adjacent to Village Hall. The planned purpose of this property is to house the Warwick Valley Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber office was in the caboose on South Street and has temporarily relocated to 7 Grand Street. The Chamber is looking forward to much needed space and handicap accessibility. The new space will include a visitor center/tourism office. Tourism has boomed in the past 5 years, and the need for an information center has been a goal of the village and Chamber of Commerce. The purchase of the property was in part supported by the town of Warwick, and the long-range plan is to develop public bathroom amenities in a separate structure. So we're very excited about this. I think it's definitely with a great understanding that our community has become, a very a destination on many levels, and the better that we can make people feel that they are involved and can find information easily, I think the better. So again, we're working together with the chamber. It's going to take a little while for us to get everything painted and get them in there, but it should happen within the next 2 months, so that's good. So we'll move on. May I have a motion for authorization, excuse me, to pay all approved and audited claims in the amount of $674,373.02.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Oh.
Mary.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the next is a public hearing, and Raina, if you could read the public notice.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Village Board of the Village of Warwick at Village Hall, 77 Main Street, Warwick, New York, 10990, on the 2nd day of January 2024 at 7:30 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard that day on the revised application of Warwick LLC for a special use permit to convert existing first floor office space into 2 one-bedroom apartments and 1 two-bedroom apartments, and to add 2 additional one-bedroom apartments and 1 two-bedroom apartment on the 2nd floor in the building at 8 Forester Avenue in the Village of Warwick, Tax Map Section 207, Block 3, Lot 3. The Village Board will, at the above date, time, and place, hear all persons interested in the subject matter hereof. Persons may appear in person or by agent. All written communications addressed to the Village Board must be received by the Village Board at or prior to the public hearing.
Okay. Sir?
Raina said it all, I think.
Okay.
You're basically adding a second story to a portion of the old office building and creating apartments on both first and second floor. 1 two-bedroom on each floor and 2 one-bedrooms on each floor, total of 6 apartments. No other real changes or modifications to the property or the building. We've gone to the ARB, and if that's AHRB or however it goes these days, and they've accepted the plans and the color schemes and all of that, which we're really not changing. We're sticking with what's existing. That's really the gist of it, not too much more than that. We've been to the planning board. They're from what I gather, pretty much on board. It's a matter of the special use to go back to the planning board to get final approval.
And you've been to the Architecture Review Board as well?
Yes, correct, yes. Yep.
And they,
They gave us a thumbs up, yep,
Mhm.
that's good to go. So, that's it on my end.
okay.
Thank you.
Board, do you have any questions?
I think it's a great project. Thank you for,
Thank you.
Yeah.
we need more housing and
Yeah.
it's a great location. It's close to downtown.
That's one of my favorite buildings too.
Yeah, it's
so
a neat
pretty.
building, and I think the second floor will look really good, because right now it's a little lower than the existing, the older portion of the building, so.
Yes,
And that barrel roof's a little odd compared to a nice peaked roof. So
right,
I think it'll fit in even better than it does already.
yeah. So, Barry, you mentioned a bit of conflict in the language on the,
Yeah, it looks like, you wanna do it now or go to the, why don't we do it when we go to the rest?
go to the resolution, okay. Yeah, for some reason, there's some language that describes garages.
Oh.
No
No.
accessory buildings,
No.
right? You
No,
know,
no,
okay,
we're
yeah.
not
Yeah.
changing the footprint at
Yeah.
all.
I
We-
think it was residual from a previous one.
Okay.
So I think
I think the
I've
apartments-
got a,
Huh.
yeah.
Yeah,
You've got it
I think I
amended.
got it
you
covered.
got it covered, okay, okay. So may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All in
Second.
fa- All in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. And, Raina, I'll let you make this make this announcement.
Oh, I'm very
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah.
Thank you. Never miss a water or sewer payment, enroll in auto pay. So by enrolling in auto pay, your water sewer bill or bills will be automatically paid 7 days prior to the bill due date using your selected payment method. Enrollees will receive a payment scheduled email 2 weeks before the payment is processed. This email notification will include the payment amount, scheduled payment date, and confirmation number. A receipt will be emailed to you when your payment is processed. You can enroll in autopay by going to villageofwarwick.org and look under Payment Center and click Pay Utility Bills and follow the instructions to enroll in autopay. When you enroll in autopay, within 3 weeks prior to a bill due date, changes may not apply to your current bill. You can also go paperless and sign up for e-bills on villageofwarwick.org. Under Payment Center, click Pay Utility Bills and follow the instructions to receive your quarterly water sewer bill via email. If you have any questions, contact Village Hall.
Very good, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So is there a fee associated with this?
Well, there's always a processing fee with the credit cards or ACH payments, so the same
Okay.
fees apply
Same
if you
fee.
pay online. But there's
So
no
it's not
additional
similar to like
fee.
Orange and Rockland has a kind of direct deposit or direct withdrawal from a checking account,
This
where
is
there
the-
is no fee.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is
There
a
is a
fee
fee.
because the village can't absorb that fee, but yes, this would be a direct withdrawal from either your bank account or
Right.
your credit card.
They're allowed to do that because they're private. We're public, we
Yes,
can't by
that's
law.
right.
Understood.
Yeah, but that's a very good question. And then under correspondence this evening, we have a letter from LaRoe Ridge Developers LLC regarding 57 Ball Road. And I know, I'm sure the board has read this letter, and it discusses the need to connect with our water system,
To not be required to connect with our water
but
system.
not be required to, thank you, to connect with our water system. So I think that what we have to do is send this to our council. Don't you agree? Or what are your thoughts, Barry?
I guess it seems to be pretty straightforward, although I don't believe we have the application form that's stated in the code regarding this, because they're supposed to make application to the village board. I would think the letter that they sent us
Would be-
would constitute an application to the village board.
Okay.
They're explaining the situation, and that, we, I think moving forward, need to craft a resolution, maybe with the assistance of our village attorney.
Right.
That basically clarifies that they're going to be allowed to do this. Right now, there's no water service within a reasonable distance. This property's located on Ball Road. Ball Road's a town road. There are no Warwick Village utilities along that road. And so they don't really have the ease of being able to just tap into a water line that's out in front of their property.
But it's considered village property.
It is, yes.
And so, and it is in some ways connected to Ridgefield.
Ridgefield. well, it abuts Ridgefield.
And isn't there water mains that,
Yes, but it would require a considerable length of piping and for which I don't believe there are any easements. So if we were to have to put a main in, it would probably run from Ridgefield, back to South Street Extension. And that would be very costly for the village to do that. And it wouldn't really be something that would pay for itself over time. So that's the
very
whole
unique, yeah.
idea behind not allowing it is because if the service is there, it's a better way to do it. If everybody had water services and they were then infringing upon the village's ability to draw water out of the aquifer, that would be something that we wouldn't want to see happen either. So it's kind of a mechanism by which we, if the water service is available, you have to tie into it unless there are extenuating circumstances. And in this case, I know Chris Bennett believes that, and I as well, that these are extenuating circumstances, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be allowed to have the property serviced by a drilled well. Currently, there was a house on the property, and that house was serviced by a well on an adjoining property, on the Ball Farm property, because it was in the same ownership. So you could get away with that, but now that it's in a separate ownership, that lot can't rely on the well across the street.
surely? I think what's going to be important, and we'll talk to Mr. Gaba about that it just has to, it really has to be clear about why this is an unusual circumstance, and that should be kind of historically
Yep.
tied into
Yep.
whatever we,
And they are served by village sewer,
right?
because the sewer line runs down along the creek behind the house. And one of the things that we're going to have to require is that they allow us to meter their water usage to determine what their sewer bill usage would be.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. So that would have to be part of the motion as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to have a bit of a discussion with Steve.
Thank
I,
you.
I think we should be prepared for our next meeting to be able
It
to
should be able to.
bring it forward.
And there's no, and pardon my ignorance on this topic, because like wells and how they work and their impact on the water supply. So the well is going to be tapping into the same aquifer that we, as the village.
No, I think it's gonna be separate from where they're located is separate from the aquifer that's down in the Memorial Park area, which is what we draw on.
Okay.
And even if they were to push it to the max, they probably wouldn't have any impact on.
Okay, that was going to be
on
my
us, yeah.
question,
Right.
and whether there was any risk of cross contamination or anything like that. But
I mean,
If they have an irrigation system, they would be required to have a backflow prevention device.
okay.
I mean, my greatest concern really is about wastewater, but since they're going to tie into our system,
Yeah, they're not on septic, so that's.
But I'm sorry, so because they're not connected to our system with their water, there's no way for it to back up into our water system.
Right.
because they're
Right.
not
correct,
connected.
yeah.
Yeah, I was saying if they were drawing from the same
Right.
source
right,
is what I
yeah.
was.
Oh,
wondering
yeah,
about.
if they were to somehow cause there to be contamination introduced, yes, no.
Okay.
No, I think we're in a very favorable position relative to that.
So we'll move on to discussion, and we wanted to also be, as well as Grand Street parking meters, and Barry, I'll let you lead that discussion. But then we do want to talk about our grants and at least begin that discussion. I don't think we'll be able to do it all in this tonight, but and I'd like Tom to be at the table as well. So Barry, do you want to start with Grand Street?
Sure. The parking enforcement attendant has expressed concern about parking on Grand Street. Right now, the parking is spaces with no meters, and I don't remember whether it's 2-hour or 3-hour parking, but it seems that people are using that to the extent that it's pretty much hospital employees, and that's creating a problem with the businesses, professionals on the other side of the street, on the other side of Grand Street, and that there's not turnover in those spaces to accommodate their clients. And so, given that, the parking enforcement agent feels that by adding meters, it would send a stronger message that these spots are for a turnover in the use of the space, so that then people going across the street would, using the businesses across the street would have greater access to parking.
Because these spots are all supposed to be 2-hour.
2-hour, okay. Yeah.
But I guess there's no way to really
Except to,
track and enforce that.
Sure.
Oh, the traffic enforcement officer, she will chalk the tires and the pavement, and
3 hours.
when somebody comes out
it's 3 hours.
at the end of the time, they move the car a little bit, or to a different space along there, or they and their friends swap their spaces, whatever, in order to be able to continue to park there, as opposed to using the parking areas that are provided to the employees of St. Anthony's, and the shuttle bus that brings them back and forth between the hospital and that parking.
That was my question, is as of now, where do employees, is there specific employee parking?
Yes.
Is there-
And
On the Mount Alverno property,
Okay.
And
that- that big
a,
lot,
and a shuttle bus that,
continuously.
yeah,
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
yeah, me too.
Yep.
So how many spots are there actually?
It's quite a few.
Were there 12 or 13? I forget what
Yep.
I was told.
I mean, I think that this is part of the transformation of this end of the business district and the village, and that, obviously they're all professionals on that one side of the street, and it just has become a greater need, and I think we have to recognize that.
It looks like there's 16 if you include the area that is
All the way to Van Duzer.
just, I'm going to say north, but I know it's not north.
West.
Yeah, west of the hospital, like west of the driveway.
Yeah,
Because you have the
yeah.
driveway that delineates, so
Right.
at least 16 spots.
So this is through local law, correct? And
Yes.
so we need meets and bounds and all that kind of good stuff, right?
Well, the distances.
Distances, okay.
Can we get Bill Lindbergh to come back and do that?
Well, we do have Katerina.
Our intern, yeah.
Yeah.
Our intern,
Yeah.
so she could probably,
She could,
Yeah.
measure those off. Or we could get DPW to do it.
yeah,
She could follow the format that we used right out there.
right? Which has been really effective.
Yeah.
So with that said, I think we can move on to the discussion about grants. And so this has been a remarkable year for the village in that we have received probably about $3 million in grants, and they're all different shapes and sizes. And so the next period of time will be about kind of understanding what we will need to do as far as our end in terms of implementation and making sure that we follow, because as we realize that there's state grants, there's federal grants, and they each have different requests, asks that, and formats to follow to make sure, that, and we have to make sure it's done correctly or else that money could be lost. So, Raina, you were working on a spreadsheet of sorts, and maybe you could share that with us to some degree, or
I
is that?
can, sure. It's very similar to actually what I brought this for you too, because it's very similar to your update that was in the first newsletter. Just
Okay.
the beginning portion of what I was putting together. I was doing that just so that we didn't lose track of many of the different emails that I'm receiving from the different organizations and whatever action items need to be done at that time.
Uh-huh.
And so, listed on that, of course, is the Safe Streets for All and the Planning and Demonstration Grant, the consolidated funding for the strategic planning and feasibility studies through the Empire State Development. That's the multi-use trail. The Thriving Communities Program, which I wasn't aware of, but Carly, you brought that up, and again, I'm adding that to my spreadsheet. The Village of Warwick Lead Line Service Inventory, the relocation of the Maple Ave Water Booster Station, the Well Number 3 Filtration Plant Project, the Clerk's Office Records Inventory and Planning Project, and of course the South Street Sidewalk. And I don't know if I didn't capture them all. And then I was just basically keeping track of where we stood with them, which were all the beginning phases. So,
That's good.
There's a couple near-term action items for us on, regarding, so there's a couple grants that we had that we have to coordinate with the villages, the other villages in the town on.
Right.
And I was thinking it could make sense for us to partner the meeting where we talk about that with the conversation about New York Forward, because if we had discussed doing a joint application this year with them, and so that will require releasing an RFP.
That's right. So I think we could do it like as a Zoom meeting, probably. Would that be the best way? I think we can get all the players.
We always have access issues.
Oh, you do?
No, we always end up joining like popcorn into the Zoom meeting.
Right, right.
So that, because the New York Forward or the Main Street, which one was it that we?
It's the New York, well, actually, it's the Main Street. It's the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative,
Yeah.
because that's the larger grant, and if the three of us are in the town are going to apply together, then yes.
Have we talked about that as a board yet? Did
Yeah,
we
I
talk
think
about?
so.
Thought we did. Okay.
We did,
okay.
yeah.
What's the deadline on that?
It's gonna be sometime this summer.
It's in the summer.
It's
late-
around
late
the time
summer.
as the CFI, right? I mean
Mhm.
CFA. 'Cause
CFA, yeah, yes.
we
it
also-
is.
It's like July.
We also have the CFA grants that are gonna be due in late July, and, there's a variety of programs that we could potentially pursue that cover topics related to park space and recreation, tourism, planning, infrastructure. The water and wastewater grants come out around that time, so
Mhm.
we'll probably wanna set up a work session to talk about CFA in particular.
Mhm.
And then maybe the next meeting, we could talk about the RAISE grant, because Tom will be here as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be really good.
And what we had talked about last time was that we would effectively be submitting the same application, but potentially adding in the dial-a-bus
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
elements.
Yeah, I'm ready to go on that.
And then at some point, I'd love to figure out elective pay, but I think that we need to have the solar, the community choice aggregate consultant on board for that.
Mhm.
Those were the ones on my list.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things I'm concerned with is how we divvy up the responsibilities, and in some cases, I think that there is some built-in help, correct?
Yeah.
Budget, but not in all cases. So I think we have to kind of decipher where we don't have the help and where we're going to find it, and or how maybe even us as a board can work on it together.
Helping with the implementation?
I mean, for example, the feasibility study, I mean, I believe it was written in a way that we were going to be taking the lead in terms of outreach,
The village,
the village, yeah.
for the multi-use trail you're
Yeah.
talking about? Okay. One of the things I was contemplating with that is because the transportation, the Safe Streets for All grant, the townwide transportation safety action plan. What I was thinking could make sense is that we could bundle that action with that effort. We could bundle the multi-use trail feasibility study with the townwide transportation safety action plan, because that would be, we would get some economies of scale there, and we might be able to get more out of that grant. So that was a thought that I had, but I know we're waiting on more information from them. Is that right?
No, I spoke to them and we were waiting and they just said, okay, move forward.
Oh,
They
okay.
gave us the green light.
Well,
So-
we should be hearing more on the Safe Streets for All in the coming weeks.
Okay.
And it could make sense for us to just reach out to them and talk about this idea.
Yep.
I also, this may be a bit premature, but, because I think we probably want to have a whole work session around the implementation of this, but there is budget in there for, grant management and for village employee work. And there's also a sizable budget for consultant. But the budget that we have for the consultant, I think, could go a lot further if that was reallocated toward hiring a part-time employee. I think that those same services can be filled by a part-time employee, and we could get more.
Who was focused on it.
Is focused on it, yeah. And then if we are concerned about, I think this is a broader conversation. Maybe I can bring a full proposal to the board, but I think there are potentially some other responsibilities that they could take on, and maybe at like very low cost to the village that would help us do more from a grants perspective.
So it seems like we really need to do a work session specifically on this
Yeah.
because it's involved and
The only problem is, I think it would probably make sense for us to do that work session after there's a webinar coming up over the course of the next week, and then they're going to reach out with contract information. And so once we get that, I think that would provide us the basis for having a broader conversation about all of the, and like, because that'll tell us a lot more about what we can do with the money, where we can make adjustments in the budget, who our main contact is going to be.
Right.
And then as soon as we get that, we could kick off with the town and the villages.
okay.
But maybe talking myself out of that. Like,
I do that frequently.
but devil's advocate here, we also need to be putting out an RFP for New York Forward. So maybe
That's
we
right.
could schedule a call with the town and the village proactively. We could just mention this and talk about the trajectory. We don't spend a lot of time on the Safe Streets for All. We spend more time discussing the path forward on the New York Forward, and then also, floating the idea of bundling in the multi-use trail with the.
Well, I know that the mayors are on board for the DRI and expressed that, yes, it makes sense to send out an RFP for a consultant to work on that project with us. But the town, of course, there's a change of guard, so we really need to make sure that that they're on board as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah, so we probably need to meet and brief,
Jesse.
Jesse on all of that.
So, just for the public to know, the DRI is Downtown Revitalization Initiative. It's $10 million grant to communities. It's mostly been seen in cities throughout New York, small cities throughout New York State. There's some villages have actually received that award. Our goal is to work actually townwide, the 3 villages and the hamlet of Pine Island, so which would be really town, where the town comes in. And it's all about downtown revitalization and projects that would really enhance each of our communities. And our goal is to really to show how we have just these 4 unique pieces that make up this great town, and that we all work together, but we're all very unique and individual, and we feel that would be a very strong application, and so that's where we're going with it. And we've actually, the village has applied for the DRI in the past, and I think the first time it came to the public or to municipalities, and it was a great exercise. We didn't win the award, but we learned a lot doing it. And so this is again, I think having a group or a partnership will actually be a strong application as well. So what's the next step? Is
Scheduling that call, I think, do we need to meet with the town supervisor separately from the other villages to brief them on?
I think that would be
Yeah,
that would
on
make
all
sense.
of
So
these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because maybe that could we could talk also about like the dial-a-bus and some of these other townwide initiatives. So it would make sense to do that meeting
First.
very soon.
Yeah. So I'll set up that meeting
Okay.
with Jesse.
And then once it's set up, I can send him some things so he's not confused about what he's getting.
Okay.
And then that could form the basis of the conversation.
And then schedule a work session, maybe not the next meeting, but the first meeting in February. Would that give us enough time?
Well, we're going to have a work session again because we still haven't even begun looking at
Oh, yeah.
short-term rentals,
Yes, and we also need one about the raised scope.
about the raise scope. Okay.
I think the short-term rentals need to come at the next meeting because our attorney will be here to give us
That's right.
direction and guidance.
That
The
was-
others not necessarily.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and then the more time, I mean, it's okay if we meet on raise a little bit further out. I'm anticipating that we're not gonna ask for any new letters of support because everything that we would be asking for, unless something comes out, that as a high priority, we would have already received some letters of support for, so we wanna try to limit the impacts on the clerk's office while you're working on the election. Yeah.
Oh, the election.
Enroll in auto pay.
I know, and turnover and
There's so much.
What about auto vote?
Auto vote. Oh, I'm sure that's coming soon.
Okay. Well, I think we have some direction here, so I think that's good. So it's really an exciting time, I think, for us as a community. We're just really looking at a lot of different things that are very important to our future, and it's not just us, but it's also with the town and the 2 other villages. So it's really I think the fruition of a year of hard work, and now even more work is going to continue. But it's good. So we're ready for it.
As long as we're on the topic,
Yes.
Just to add one more thing, not as sexy as what we've been talking about,
Okay.
but the funding for New York, for the Bridge New York program.
Oh, yeah.
Is right now it's the process is supposed to be due by January 19th. We've engaged HVA
Right.
Engineering to do that on our behalf. My belief is that the third time is the charm.
Okay.
We will get it this time. And so,
We need to make a compelling argument.
yes, well, we're working on that, and
Okay.
I think that with some additional funding that's been put in the pot from the Orange County Transportation Council,
Oh, okay.
that it does increase our chances. So I'm very hopeful that the third time's going to be the charm, because this is the third time we've gone after Bridge New York money for the culvert that we've known has been. It doesn't get any better. It's not getting worse a lot. It's not getting worse quickly, but certainly it's due for replacement.
Good. And the other thing, Raina, if you could share that information that you printed out for us to the board, so that we all have a sense of, on the grants, just so that everyone,
Yeah, it's pretty rough, but I'll share that.
it's okay. Rough is
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to public comments. So if anybody would like to speak to the board on agenda items.
One thing on the trail,
Yes,
community trail, that was with the comprehensive plan, was that what we were talking about? Is that the one going out to shop?
yes, exactly.
A friend of mine, Eric Loberg, who you know. I
Yes,
believe,
yes.
Just tonight commented on the trail going out, almost a rail trail, which is very difficult because of streams and the railroad itself and their easements, I'm sure, but
Sure.
out towards the prison. So just because you said the other trail, I thought it'd be a nice bookend.
Yeah, it would be a wonderful bookend. I mean, I think that's the future of our communities.
Right.
Is where, all types of connectivity.
Sure.
And so when we're talking, I mean, I think in our dream is to create a connection from the village out to Price Chopper, ShopRite, and Pennings, because they're places of employment, but also they're marketplaces.
Right.
And not just a sidewalk. We're talking about something more like the Heritage Trail that
Sure.
is wide enough, and you could bring, you could ride a bike, you could, be in a small handicapped cart, or whatever. They're all types of methods of movement. So, but something that it really is feels safe. I think that's the most important thing.
Sure.
Right now, we see folks that work out in those areas, and they're walking right along Route 94. It feels so very dangerous.
Yeah, I drive it all the time.
Yeah.
It's definitely not much of a shoulder for pedestrians walking.
Yeah, I see the same too.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was going all the way out there.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's not that much further. We had kind of phased it out. It's not that much further to think about how it goes could go to the schools and then
That's
correct.
connect to the West Street but actually the Transportation Safety Action Plan, so we just got funding for that, can look at those things because
Yeah.
historically transportation planning has been very movement of vehicles and freight centric, but now it's movement of people. And so that means not just by vehicle, it is, walking, biking, all of that, dial-a-busing, so
That's a verb.
the idea is that would be all included in that, and we got a really, I think it's a pretty good sized grant to
Yeah,
look at all
significant.
of that.
That's great.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to motions.
Motion to hold the general village election at the Goodwill Hook and Ladder Company, 25 Church Street Extension on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. The polls will be open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Motion to appoint Michael J. Batts Sr. and Elizabeth Doty as machine operators and Noel Thompson as alternate machine operator for the Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 general village election at a rate of $13 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to appoint Victoria Haig as election inspector chair for the general village election on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 at a rate of $13 per hour.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to appoint Mary Singer, Nancy Thompson, and Donald Grenier
Perfect.
as election inspectors and Deborah Sattler as alternate election inspector for the general village election on Tuesday, March 19th, 2024 at a rate of $13 per hour.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Motion to appoint Vanessa Mann as poll clerk / alternate liaison, alternate election inspector, for the general village election on March 19th, Tuesday, 2024, at a rate of $13 per hour.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
It's like dueling
I
seconds.
know. Trying to take
And
turns.
Barry, would you take Tom's motion next?
Number 6, resolution introducing and setting a public hearing on proposed local law to amend Village Code Chapter 135 Vehicles and Traffic to add traffic safety regulations and traffic control devices. Whereas the Village Board of the Village of Warwick has a local law before it entitled Local Law to amend Village Code Chapter 135 Vehicles and Traffic to add traffic safety regulations and traffic control devices. And whereas in order to enact the said local law, it is necessary to introduce it and hold a public hearing upon it. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the movement of this resolution does hereby introduce the attached proposed local law, and 2, that a public hearing on the proposed local law will be set for February 5th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m., and that due notice of same is directed to be given by publication and posting.
Okay,
Second?
okay, and it's roll call.
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Newhart?
Yes.
Okay, quick question. On
Yes.
Steve was gonna draft a local law enabling the village board to make,
He has not yet.
he has not yet, but he has been requested
Yes, he
to
has.
do that?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe, am I following up on that?
We'll push it.
Yeah, Maynard?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Just don't push it ahead of the things I'm asking.
Oh. Come on.
Behind Barry's, yeah, whatever's going on.
Okay. So Barry,
We're
do you want
done.
to
We're ready? Okay.
continue?
Motion
on?
to rescind the resolution approved on December 18th, 2023, introducing a proposed local law establishing a community choice aggregate program and scheduling a public hearing for January 15th, 2024.
Okay,
Second?
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Just a sec. Shouldn't it be aggregation?
Community choice aggregate, it should be
It's
aggregation, yeah.
Right. Okay. Number 8, resolution introducing a proposed local law establishing a community choice aggregation program, whereas the Village Board of the Village of Warwick has a local law before it entitled Local Law to amend the Village Code by enacting a new Chapter 60 entitled Community Choice Aggregation Program, and whereas in order to enact the said local law, it is necessary to formally introduce it and to hold a public hearing on it. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the movement, number 1, that the movement of this resolution does hereby introduce the proposed local law, and 2, that a public hearing on the proposed local law be set for January 16th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m., and that due notice of same is directed to be given by publication and posting.
Second?
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Newhart?
Yes. Do you want to split it up? Do you like somebody else to?
Well, this one, I've got.
Oh, you have,
Modified that.
you
I
have
gotta
modified it,
modify
so
these,
yeah,
so.
go ahead.
Resolution granting special use permit for a 6-apartment multiple dwelling at 8 Forester Avenue. Whereas the applicant, Warwick LLC, owns certain real property located at 8 Forester Avenue, Warwick, New York, Section 207, Block 3, Lot 3. And whereas the said property is located in a central business district, and whereas the applicant has submitted an application proposing to convert existing first-floor office space to 2 one-bedroom apartments and 1 two-bedroom apartment, and to establish 2 one-bedroom apartments and 1 two-bedroom apartment on the second floor of the building on the said property, whereas under the village zoning code, the proposed apartment building constitutes a multiple residence, and whereas the table of use requirements in the village zoning code lists multiple residence as a use permitted in the CB district subject to grant of a special use permit from the village board and grant of site plan approval by the planning board. And whereas the planning board as lead agency in review of the project under the State Environmental Quality Review Act has determined that it is an unlisted action and has issued a negative declaration. And whereas the applicant has now applied to the village board for a special use permit pursuant to Village Code Section 145-127 for establishment of the proposed multiple dwelling, and whereas under the village code, an application for approval of a multiple dwelling must meet the standards set forth in Section 145-120, as well as the particular requirements set forth in Section 145-127. And whereas the village board has duly noticed and held a public hearing on the application for a special use permit, now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1. That the village board does hereby make the following findings pursuant to Village Code Section 145-120. A. The proposed development of the subject project is of such location, size, and character that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the neighborhood in which it is situated and will not be detrimental to adjacent properties. The subject property is an existing building located in a neighborhood in which reuse of it as an apartment building will be consistent with existing uses in the area. Further, it will help increase the village's stock of entry-level housing. B. The proposed use and development of the subject property as multiple dwelling does not pose any undue hazards to pedestrian and vehicular traffic. There is ample off-street parking on the property and site distances are not a concern for ingress and egress from the property. C. The location and height of the building on the property is not of such nature, size, appearance, or location that it will hinder or discourage use or development of other properties in the neighborhood or the district. Most of the property in the neighborhood is already built out. Thus, the physical dimensions of the building will not hinder or discourage use or development or redevelopment of other properties in the neighborhood or the district. D. The proposed development of the property as a multi-family dwelling will not result in a need for additional public facilities or services or create such fiscal burdens upon the village greater than those which characterize uses permitted by right under applicable zoning. If the new residential use on the property results in any increase in the need for public facilities or services or creates a greater fiscal burden upon the village than the commercial use would create, it will be nominal. 2. That the village board does hereby make the following findings in regard to the applicant's ability to meet the special conditions criteria set forth in Village Code Section 145-127. A. The applicant's property consists of 0.62 acres and therefore meets the requirement that the subject property have a minimum lot size of 22,500 square feet. B. The applicant has satisfied the requirement that the multiple residence must be constructed to resemble a single-family dwelling. The building is being constructed with a single main entrance for the apartments, and overall it resembles a single-family dwelling to the extent that it can. C. The applicant meets the requirement that the multiple residence must be consistent with the character of the immediate surrounding neighborhood on the grounds set forth above. D. Village Code 145-127 goes on to state additional standards which must be met if the applicant proposes to construct multiple buildings on a lot. But here the applicant proposes to construct a single mixed-use commercial and residential structure, so these considerations do not apply here. 3. That the village board hereby grants the requested special use permit.
Second.
Okay.
Trustee Cheney?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee Kolara?
Yes.
Mayor Newhart?
Yes. Okay, do you want to take a break? Barry?
Sure.
Mary, do you want to chime in here?
Sure. Resolution amending schedule of fees for the addition of planning board escrow fees. Whereas Village of Warwick Code 64-1 provides that a comprehensive schedule of fees, including planning board fees, be approved by the village board, and Whereas, in order to amend the village's schedule of fees to add a planning board application base escrow fee for subdivision application, it is necessary for the village board to adopt a resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the village's schedule of fees is hereby amended as follows. In the schedule of fees, under heading Planning Board Application Fees, the following fee shall be added. Under category Planning Board Application Fees, subcategory Escrow. Type of fee, base escrow fee, preliminary subdivision review, and final subdivision review in the amount of $2,500. Notes, base escrow for preliminary subdivision review will be applied toward final subdivision review escrow. Code 64-3.
Great.
Second.
Trustee Keating?
Yes.
Trustee Foster?
Yes.
Trustee Flora?
Yes.
Mayor Newhart?
Yes. Okay. So, final comments from the public? Okay. Final comments from the board?
Just a reminder that Christmas tree pickup of natural Christmas trees is ongoing. No plastic ones, please. Trees must be placed at the curb by 7 a.m. on Monday, January 15th to ensure pickup. That's when the last go-round will be. Trees must be clean of any unnatural materials such as ornaments, lights, tinsel, garland. Trees may also be dropped off until January 31st at the Town of Warwick chip site on Public Works Drive.
Very good. Mary?
No. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Looking
Yes.
forward to everything that we'll do together in 2025.
Yeah. Oh, I just want to make a comment. You know, we had a very wonderful apple drop to bring in the new year, and I just want to thank the Warwick Fire Department and our Department of Public Works, who really work so hard to make sure that activities like this happen. So I truly appreciate it, and so did all the revelers appreciate it as well. It was quite successful.
It's a nice turnout.
Yeah. So could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
First
Thanks,
meeting in the
folks.
new year.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a good project.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Good.
It's,